Welcome back all to your casual gaming station. Today, I am going to be going over the skill tree. I had some requests to go over my build and why I chose what I chose. And so I thought that would be fun to go over that for you today. Just to give some quick 2 cents on the skill tree in general, I would absolutely love if Embark gave us a little bit more information on this, incrementally. How much more does this increase our stamina? How much faster is this going to help us with breaching doors? You have things like the marathon runner, which we think applies to everything moving, like dodging, all of that stuff. But it really doesn't explain that to us. And, one of the biggest concerns for me is, especially for new players, is the crafting option. It doesn't tell me what I can craft by choosing this one or by choosing this one. So there's really no way for us to measure any of these um, out of raid, and even so trying to test them in raid, it's kind of tedious, and honestly finding that some of these skills just don't seem that great when other people try and test them. So I think having some more information here would actually help Embark get some better feedback from some of these skills. Another thing too that I think would be fun to add is a crafting tree. I think you could combine maybe some mobility and conditioning here. Um, and just have a separate crafting tree. Maybe have it where you can go up your medical items. You can start with just regular bandages, and then herbal bandages, and then the Vita shots. Or maybe you have it so you can build more grenades and more traps and stuff, and that's its own line. And maybe even up to a makeshift, wolf pack. Something fun where maybe it's not a full wolf pack with all of its rockets or shots. Maybe it's like has half the amount of shots with it. Because you don't have your bench thematically to build it on. But I think they could do a lot more with in-game or in-raid crafting with this skill tree, giving people a way to kind of be more unique in their niche of what they want to craft. All right, well, that's all said. So let's just go down the line here of why I chose what I chose. You'll see, I went for the security breach. Honestly, that just feels like the best last skill, even if I feel like I wasted some skill points in here getting to it. Ultimately, the only other one that really seemed nice to have would have been the back on my feet. When you're critically hurt, your health regenerates until a certain limit. I could see that being really nice to have. And if I wanted to go with more of the PvP route, if I played that more often or played squads more often, then I would potentially choose this and then these two here. While down, you take less damage, and then when you're down, it takes longer to collapse. Those ones I find are just more PvP focused. Like if I collapse or if I get downed by an arc, I'm either too far away from extract to get there anyways, unless I have the MK where I can't die, or I make sure I get down right by the elevator so I can still call it. If I'm down by a player, they're probably going to cap me anyway. And there's, to me, no point in being able to last much longer. There's very rare instances where I get down by a player and I have a chance to actually make it to extract. So that's why I find those with my playstyle not being as great. But coming back over to the survival tree, the agile croucher, your movement speed while crouching is increased, and your revitalizing shot squat, your stamina regens while crouching is increased. I maxed both of these out, partially because I needed 15 points to get up to here. But also, you spend a lot of time crouched in game. I mean, for the most part, you're probably going to be standing up and running, but when you're hiding from somebody, when you're getting into a PvP fight, or you're hiding from the arc behind some cover, you do spend a decent amount of time crouched. Also, when I think about it, if I'm crouched, I'm probably in a not so great situation. If I'm hiding, which means I want more stamina in that situation. So I think those two go well together. Also, movement speed while crouching increased. I think this is very helpful, especially when you're trying to stay down into cover, again, while evading arc or other players. Being able to just move faster than they can while crouched It's going to allow you to adjust to that cover more often without having to just pop up and sprint and try and run to the next place. In-round crafting, I kind of already explained maybe why I picked that one, but having bandages and smokes and shield rechargers in game, especially early on when you're getting hit more often because you have less stamina, it comes in really handy. So there's that. Looter's Instinct. I maxed this one out because looting and breaching are some of the things you do a lot in the game. And when I went to rebuild or respec my skill tree, I really thought, what are the things I spend the most time doing? Looting and breaching, you're very vulnerable. That's part of the entire purpose of the game. So there's really no reason why not to just max that out, because it's going to speed that up and you'll spend less time doing that and more time doing other fun stuff. Make less noise while looting. This one I simply chose because I had to. I don't like the noise options in this skill tree. I think the reason for that is because you have night mode that you can turn on in your sound settings. And from my understanding, night mode bumps up those lower end noises, those quieter noises. And to me, that just negates this skill in the skill tree. Like, why am I going to dump points in this when someone can just turn that on and negate it? Even on some of the headsets or headphones I have, I can just bump up the volume if I'm sitting still and trying to be quiet, and I can hear more things around me. So to me, I don't take the less noise while looting or anything seriously, because I know I can't avoid it if someone else chooses it. So there's that. Suffer in silence when critically hurt. Your movement makes less noise. Again, I took it because I had to on my way up to here. While under a healing effect, stamina regen is increased. This one, again, you're going to use a lot, so it's going to be beneficial to grab. You're healing yourself relatively often, so stamina increase is just an extra benefit. Coming down into here, again, herbal bandages are probably the one thing that I'm going to craft the most of. Otherwise, those traps and the Raider Hatch keys, I started using at the beginning, but I really don't use the more I play the game. Traps I'd like to try and use more often now, but I usually plan for that. One Raider Scraps, I chose this one just to have just to have it. Is really either that or dumping another point into Stubborn Mule, which your stamina regen is less affected by being over encumbered. You don't loot as many Raider caches, but having 1 point into it at least gives me an additional small chance to get more things, because if I do, I might get some extra, bandages or a Raider Hatch key, or maybe I'll get something else. And just this gives me that opportunity without just missing out on it as much. But again, I just put a point in there just because I needed more points for the breach. Stubborn Mule. This one, I think, can be handy at the beginning while you're leveling up. But once you get to where you have the broad shoulders, where this one increases your maximum weight you can carry, and once you get the broad shoulders and your loaded arms, where your equipped weapon has less impact on your encumbrance, you're going to find yourself not being over encumbered as often. Unless you're really going in with a medium or heavy shield all the time and trying to carry out a bunch of stuff. So if you want to do more PvP focused stuff, or maybe that's the case, or you're wearing more heavy or medium shields more often, I could see over encumbrance coming more into play. Now this one, to me, 3 deep breaths after an ability drains your stamina, you recover more quickly. So perhaps vaulting or your dodge rolling, that's going to happen a lot. So might as well max it up because you use your abilities quite often. Your Looter's Luck. This one, I have mixed feelings about. I ended up dumping more points into this one versus the encumbrance, just because I am looting a lot. I think I had 3 points in this before, and it still didn't feel like it popped up as often as I would imagine. But this is going to come into play more often than the encumbrance for me personally. Even at the beginning, I'm probably not going to run into this until the very end of the match. So 90% of my play is going to more rely on my looter's luck. So that is why I went that route for my point dump to get to the security breach. Now, again, the security breach, I chose this because you still get a lot from it. And for me personally, when I play with my group, I'm the only one at level 75. So I'm the only one that has a security breach. So even if I'm not taking this stuff for me, I'm taking it, opening it up for the other players and to dump the stuff on the ground. So that's one reason why I like it, but it's still, to me, one of the better things in the game. If I wasn't worried about the security breach, which I am less worried about now that I'm leveled up and ready to extract or to go on the expedition, I could see myself going for something more, again, like the back on your feet or going down this line and taking some points out of this. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, going on to the mobility line, going for something like your increased max stamina is an obvious reason, right? So just go ahead and max it out. It's going to be used for everything. And then, of course, your marathon runner, maxing that out because moving around, again, seems to apply to everything costs less stamina. Your after sprint dodge roll, sprinting does not consume stamina for a short time, has a cooldown between uses. I think taking this and tacking it onto this is really, really good. So if your shield breaks, your first dodge roll within a few seconds does not cost stamina. All right, now after your sprint dodge roll, sprinting does not consume stamina. So you can, if your shield breaks, do a sprint dodge, and then you're going to save your stamina for a short time, and you're going to have extra stamina to get away. So those two combined, I think, are extremely handy. Now, these three stats I see as really important, actually. Your fall damage, your sturdy ankles, you take less fall damage when falling from non-lethal height. If you're really trying to get up to some weapon cases that are in some unique places, or if you're just running from something in general, taking less fall damage can save you. I don't know how many times maybe I fell down and I took too much damage and someone just was able to one-tap me in the back. Or again, I'm falling off a ledge while trying to dodge arc or something, and I die because I didn't have enough, enough points in this. So 3 I kind of found is where the sweet spot for me is. I don't take as much from really far heights, and I don't feel the need to really put any more points into it because usually an herbal bandage will be enough as long as I don't fall from something extremely far, right? So that's my thought on that one. Now, slipping and sliding. You can slide further and faster. This one I went back to how often I do this in game. I do this a lot. You traverse the grounds a lot, sliding down the dams. If you're on flat ground, you slide a lot to move faster. And when you slide, you regenerate some stamina. So if I'm sliding farther, I'm regenerating stamina for longer. And being faster, I'm obviously moving faster. So this is a big movement thing. It's going to save you stamina. Theoretically as well, if you're sliding a little bit farther, you have a little bit more time. But if you're sliding faster, maybe you don't have more time. In either case, I do this a lot, so I dumped more points into it. The nimble climber, you can climb and vault more quickly. I don't know how many times I died because I was not climbing fast enough. Again, this goes back to the breaching and the looting. You are vulnerable when you are climbing. You are vulnerable when you are vaulting. So being able to do those quicker is going to save you. Those instances will come up. And I encourage you to dump some points into that one. I didn't really go up any further. Again, if I didn't go for this security breach, I might go into something like when you're down, you can crawl faster. Or vaulting is no longer slowed down while exhausted. I think that could be a good one. Dodge rolls taking less stamina. It didn't seem like when this was tested, it helped enough for me to merit taking that one. Sprint dodge roll farther. I mean, you can argue maybe this helps you dodge some of the arc more efficiently, but just didn't seem like worth it enough. This one, I would probably go for. When falling, your timing window to perform a recovery roll is increased. However, if you're also taking less fall damage, again, I don't know if you even need this one. If you're good at hitting your timing, it's not going to be as big of an issue. Leaping over the wall further just doesn't seem like it's enough. Lets you jump at the end of the vault. That could be fun just to test it. Vaulting no longer costs stamina. I wonder if this would speed up your vaulting efficiency as well, if it's not going to cost stamina, if you just don't vault, especially if you're over encumbered. I'd be curious if that affects that, or negates that being over encumbered effect. But anyways, that's where I stopped on the mobility tree. Now let's go down the conditioning line. Really, the big things here I wanted to get were the breaching. The first dodge roll within a few seconds does not cost stamina, and then I wanted to get the little extra. So when you breach an object generates resources. So things like your metal and all of that. I have gotten lucky and gotten some rubber duckies. I've gotten some motion cores, and I've gotten some other advanced electrical parts as well. But this will probably be more of your common items like your plastics and metals. But they do come in handy, and they do stack, and you can sell them. So there's that. Loaded arms, your weapons has less impact on your encumbrance. Obviously, a mainstay that is really helpful. These other ones were really just to get to here. I mean, if you are wearing a shield, doesn't slow you down as much. This more so applies to your medium and heavy shields. I wear a lot of these in duos and trios, so that applies to me quite a bit in that instance. Not so much maybe in solos. This is the make less noise while breaching. Again, I just ignored that because of the whole settings, and you can negate this as a player anyway. Hearing less is affected by nearby explosions. I kind of took this one just to get to the fight or flight. There are instances where explosions did affect some of my PvP interactions where I just couldn't hear them moving around anymore. But not enough for me to really merit sinking into this one. I didn't think it was worth it enough compared to just other mobility options. And then the fight or flight. I have 3 into this just so I can unlock this one. But when you're hurt in combat, regain a fixed amount of stamina. It has a cooldown between uses. So this is still good. When you get hurt, you regain a little bit. The reason why I wasn't excited about this one was because I did see a little bit of testing, and the amount you regain was pretty minute. It was pretty minute. And if I have other things like, an ability drains your stamina, you recover more quickly, or your shield breaks, the first dodge roll doesn't cost anything, and I start adding up all of these other stamina things. There's really, could I max this out? Sure, but I have enough other stamina buffs that I feel like it's not necessary for me to take another one. So there is that. But anyways, that's my skill tree. Tell me your thoughts. Is it something, did I go kind of the same route or the same reasoning as you guys picked? Is there something I mentioned that maybe doesn't make sense, or something else you chose that you felt is more of an impact on the game? Ultimately, this kind of fits my play style. And like I said, if I am going to at some point not do security breach, I am going to try, maybe going into some of these options more. I would really like to test this one and see how much that's going to regenerate for me, and then maybe take some other options like leaping farther, or having a bigger timing window for that. Otherwise, I think the rest of this I could kind of do without. So there you have it. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next one.